Is the author of Going to Tehran, Why the United States Must Come to Terms with the Islamic Republic of Iran. She joins me now from Washington, D.C. Hillary, good to talk to you again. What is Iran doing here in the lead up to these talks next week? The IAEA finds conflicting signals at Iran's nuclear facility. What's going on here?
Well, Iran is doing what it has been doing for years, which is going forth with its nuclear program, increasing the number of centrifuges. When I first started on this, when I first was working in the National Security Council here in the White House, Iran was spinning 0 centrifuges back in 2003 when we first started negotiating with them. Today, they're spinning 8,000 centrifuges. They are just continuing their march toward mastering the fuel cycle and having as complete a nuclear program as they possibly can.
Are we looking at...
They've been doing it. They've been transparent about it.
Yeah. Are we looking at laying the groundwork for these negotiations? Is this in some way some kind of a ploy? What does it have, and what does it want the world to believe it has? And is Iran ultimately trying to gain concessions for a program that may not be as far along as Iran would like us to believe?
Well, what Iran thinks and believes and has been since before the Islamic Republic, even under the Shah, it believes it has, and I think many international legal experts agree with this, it has a sovereign right to enrich uranium and have a the nuclear fuel cycle, the full energy program, and it has a treaty right. It is one of the original signatories to the NPT, and that's why we even have this information about the new centrifuges that they're installing in Natanz this week, because they are obligated to disclose those to the IAEA, and the IAEA then reports them to the world. So Iran has been pursuing this program for some years under IAEA inspection. What they would like from the West, what they would like from the United States in particular, is a recognition that they are not inherently evil and they have the same sovereign and treaty rights as anybody else, sovereign rights and anybody else who signed up to the NPT, for nuclear energy to pursue the entire fuel cycle. If the United States, a resolution to this problem is actually quite simple. If the United States would recognize their right to enrich uranium, they would agree to a whole series of efforts and steps for more transparency. That's the core of the deal. They've had that on the table for years, but the United States doesn't agree to it because we don't think they should even have the fuel cycle.
But Hillary, there is, as you know, a lack of trust when it comes to Iran on this issue because it went underground and didn't disclose this program for so many years.
Well, they just, according to how the Iranians interpret it, and again, there is some debate in the international legal community, they disclosed what they had to when they had to. The NPT is not an ideal solution. It's a grand bargain between the weapon states, including the United States, and those who want to pursue nuclear energy, but we're going to forswear nuclear weaponization. It's not a perfect deal. It's a bargain. And as part of the bargain, states don't have to say what they're doing every second of the day, and they don't have to let inspectors into every facility in the country. They show the IAEA what they say are their nuclear facilities, and the IAEA can inspect them. Now, individual states can agree to even more intrusive inspections, and that's what we should be focused on, because the only real antidote to the lack of trust is not bombing them, is not more sanctions. The only antidote to the lack of trust is transparency. If we can get more transparency, that is really the only constructive way to deal with this issue of lack of trust.
Will we see some transparency in the talks coming up in Kazakhstan next week?
I'm afraid I don't have a lot of hopes for those talks. I think that, unfortunately, Washington in particular is really on a collision course with these talks. We are putting things on the table that cannot possibly be attractive to the Iranians. And then our idea is that because, even though we know they're not going to find it attractive, sanctions are going to force them to concede anyway. This is a collision course that will really, in the end, just discredit engagement and leave us with very few options other than more coercion and even ultimately war.
Hillary, thank you. Hillary Mann Leverett is the author of Going to Tehran, Why the United States Must Come to Terms with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And she's joining us from Washington, D.C. Hillary, thanks again.
Thanks so much.